Welcome to bexbugoutsurvivor. So I just brought with me my little 38 litre MTP patrol pack, and in it are two BASHAs. Now they're both army issue, ex-surplus. One's in MTP and one's in DPM. MTP, multi-terrain pattern, and there's DPM as well, destructive pattern material, which is the camo colour that we'll all recognise, similar to my trousers here. Now I believe the DPM is a little shorter than the MTP, so I put a little measuring tape, but not the lightest weight of BASHAs. Now the MTP, I should imagine about 10-15 years old, even older for the DPM, and they're still like new. And what sets these BASHAs apart is the quality. You only have to have a look here. This is the amount of seam seal on every BASHA, regardless of its age. Let's come to the stitching. Now, I don't pretend to be an aficionado of craft work when it comes to sewing, but one thing I do know what to look out for is no loose seams, that the seam isn't suddenly drifting from one side to the other. And it is perfect. And it's perfect both on my MTP BASHA and the DPM. DPM BASHA's been around a long time. There might be a year NSN number on this also. It takes 6 stakes to put it out. I've had this up as a high shelter for a hammock. I'm putting this one up in an A-frame strung between a couple of trees, and we're off. Now, I don't actually know anyone in the forces who will put these into stuff sacks. They are loose filled somewhere in either your Bergen or your day pack, and I found it to be perfectly adequate just like that. I'm coming round the tree back into the end webbing, using this like the loop of a trucker's hitch, and then all I have to do is just to put a quick release knot in, like a letter D, reach a loop inside that letter D, pull it towards the BASHA like that, and it comes off the tree like this on both sides. It's a real test of this today. The wind's getting up and I just need a quick pitch. Now, I haven't managed to source myself any military tent pegs, so I'm just going with the lightweight groundhogs. Now, the military tent pegs that I've seen, very expensive for what they are, and they're not so easy to acquire on the cheap. Now, if you're in the forces, you'll be using bungee cords. It's just the way an old guy like me is used to doing it. New dogs, old tricks. It's not that I'm not into bungee cords or anything, you know, but I have had incident where it's come off its housing and it's flicked back and it is flown. It is flown. You'd have someone's eye out. And it's a centre bit here which will stop the wind pushing. With the end tie out, I want to pull out on a 45-degree angle. I don't want to come out in line with this front part coming on the diagonal. And I'm just using a slip knot to guy it all out. And it'll be put in a very low configuration for a bivvy, because I actually want to sit in this in a minute. So it's been slung pretty low. I could get this touching the deck, but here, if I'm lying down, I'll have eyes on at ground level, so I can still survey the area. And the trouble with using paracord, especially when it's wet and you do use quick release knots, it'll come unthreaded like that. It's nearly through that. So this is the MTP BASHA put up in UK woodland. This is taken roughly from about 10 metres away. It's a pretty good match, as you can see, with these autumn blend leaves here. slung nice and low to the ground also. So we'll get a side by side with the DPM in the same place. So less than waist height, but above the knee. And if I'd have brought my mat with me, it would have been better than sat on the floor like this, but already I'm sheltered from this wind. And it actually is, you know, quite a brisk day with the wind. So the type of system that would be used for me with this would be either a sleep suit or a bivvy. You know, sleeping bag and a bivvy. Great in this. I can throw that on the ground on the roll pad. And this is more or less it. And a big plus to bivvy camping like this, so you got your sleeping bag, your bivvy and your bash, more or less all you need, is if I just come to this apex end here like this, I can have the stove outside, but I can be under, sheltered from the rain and the wind, and yet still have a stove going. Not so easy doing that in a tent. Now this is the MTP veil, camo net veil. I've already got a smog on, but it doubles as a really nice cold weather scarf. So much you can do with these. I can actually place this over the front here. Now from a distance this starts working, so why would I use something like this? Well, mostly for photography, wildlife, things like that. Now without the netting you'd see the tree behind it, which kind of gives the game away. So this would be great for wildlife photography. But placed on the actual BASHA itself, you can see the veil is doing nothing. Actually have the veil to this point, and this can conceal the 5 S's in camouflage. That is the open port side where I climb in. That is going into my MTP kit. I have a whole kit of MTP. The webbing, the Bergens, the BASHA. So the MTP multi-terrain pattern was for Afghanistan, and not really for the British woodland. We have our own DPM for that. But I do find that in autumn, once all the leaves have dropped, the DPM can stand out quite a lot. It's very dark, too dark. So a light coloured system for the autumn, the fall, absolutely amazing. Okay, I'm going to take this down and put up the British woodland DPM, which is the disruptive pattern material that are familiar to a lot of people. Now, I said I was going to show you the sizing of them. I'll have to put that in as a caption at the end. I've packed a tape measure and can't find it. The sod's luck in it. Now this is my other BASHA. See, hell of a difference. A lot darker. This is the DPM, and it is said to work a lot better, obviously, when there are plenty of leaves on the tree, a lot more greenery around, and I would want actually this to be placed further back and actually in the scrubland itself, but for the sake of filming this, this is going to be just fine. So now it's time for the DPM BASHA. I'm going to use the same trees so we can get a good equal comparison, and if I can, I'll try and get a side by side in the video later. Again, I'm not using bungees. I have bungees and I might even start using them. I'm just totally undecided. So this is the British DPM BASHA. So there's 6 in total in the perimeter, 1 at each of the apex. All have sewn in loops, really super strong. Again, just look at the amount of seam seal on here. From the inside, totally sheltered. It's a similar kind of pitch where I've taken it off the ground a wee bit just to get some eyes on. And that is the pattern of your DPM. Okay, here's the DPM basher from the same vantage point we took before with the MTP. Now, it's very, very dark, that basher. It kind of stands out a little. And there we have it again. It's really designed not to be put out in the open like that, like we spoke about before. It's meant to be in the scrubland itself. Now I do have a couple of trees out there where we could put it into the scrubland, and both of them tarps or bashers would disappear without any doubt. But for the sake of filming, you're not really going to see very much of it if I hide it. Same kind of level I put it at, below my hip and above my knee. Now if I splay the angle too wide and have it lower, water settles on the bottom. I could have it a steeper pitch, the wind will hit it more. So it's a matter of playing about with it for the weather conditions of today. This is probably going to be good for tonight. I've had this up over a hammock. It is shorter than the MTP. Great ground dwelling system. I'm easily got enough length for a ground dwell here. You know, I'm fully enclosed. I've got room for the kit and myself. Just when there's a little more foliage about, and it'd be better. And I can still hide the front here just by putting a veil on it. But as you can see, it's just enough to bring that light right down. And again, it helps with the 5 S's, your shape, silhouette, shine. That's 3. But really no requirement for it unless you're into your photography. I would get some good wildlife stills just like this. And again, it is windy out there. I'm only at the end of the basher, and fantastic. Now there are loops on the inside. I think there should be 2. I don't particularly have a requirement to run a line all the way through. I like to camp with a line each side and use a trucker's hitch to get tension on both sides. Some environments are really going to benefit from a DPM like this. Some environments are going to benefit from the MTP, especially in desert situations such as Afghan and places like that. That is what the MTP was for, to replace this British camo here. These are still holding a price. They really are. I've just sold one, you know, and I got more for it than I bought it for. Again, I can still stay under here and do all the cooking and admin that I need on the outside, yet still being sheltered here. I do love bivvying a lot more than tents. I haven't taken my tent out for what feels like years now, and I'm overdue a tent camp, a wild tent camp. But for me, that is just going to be glamping. Not, of course, that any kind of basher camping is roughing it. Not by far. You can be very, very, very comfortable with a warm sleeping bag. Ensure you've got a good bivvy with it and a good ground mat or 2. And in the winter, 2 ground mats, not 1. Summer, you can get away with 1. And I've got a feature coming up on ground mats also. One claims to be a 4-season ground mat, and I'll compare it to the stock NATO, and I think you'll be surprised at the findings. Very, very lightweight, simple system to pack. Like I said, a Gore-Tex bivvy, a basher, and a sleep system of your choice, sleeping bag of your choice even, and you're away. Really lightweight, compact way of using surplus. I love my BASHAs. And I've also managed to get this even more compact, and that will feature on the quick tips between the main features, so look out for that one. I've been Bex, hope you've enjoyed looking at the BASHAs, and until next time, you take good care of yourself, happy trails, and good back.